Hey everyone, welcome back to Southern Gals True Crime. In this video, I wanted to share with you the cold case homicide of Karen Bodine. So Karen Bodine was a 37-year-old mother of three. She lived in Olympia, Washington. She was loving, she was creative, she was known to streak her hair with pink highlights, and she would leave secret notes in her kids' school notebooks as a way to let them know that she was thinking of them. While she did struggle with substance abuse, her family and friends remember her as a loving mother, a loving daughter, and a loving friend. So on Sunday, January 21st of 2007, Karen was wandering through the streets of Lacey, Washington, when a neighbor noticed her and called the police. So when the police arrived, Karen, just brushed them off. She told them she was fine, despite not having a winter coat to wear in the cold weather. And after a lot of discussion, the officer eventually left. So at the time, Karen was staying with a friend. She had left her parents' home after what they called an intense DV incident with her boyfriend, which resulted in a protection order. The next day, which was Monday, January 22nd, Karen was staying with that same friend and many other house guests at the time who were known to do illegal substances. They reported seeing Karen around 3 a.m. when she left the house on foot. And this will be the last time, unfortunately, that Karen would be seen alive. So the next morning, on January 23rd of 2007, Karen's nude body was discovered at the entrance of a gravel pit on Little Rock Road in Rochester, Washington, which is approximately 30 miles from her home. A witness would tell police they saw a small brown early 1980s Datsun with a lighter color camper shell seen around 7:50 a.m. at the gravel road entrance. So despite being found in an unnatural position, investigators determined that there was no signs of SA, but she had been strangled, and her body was left in a position that would suggest that the offender, quote, wanted the shock value. Additionally, Karen was completely nude. There was a ligature around her neck. Multiple DNA profiles were identified on the ligature. They were sent off for testing, which to this day that I know of, that I could find, still has not been shared. If there were any results, if any, have not been shared. So law enforcement is hoping advancements in DNA technology will result in answers. The detective in the case is quoted as saying, "When you have a case that has as little evidence as this one does, and has gone on as long as it has, more than one person was probably involved." So Karen's case remains unsolved, but her children are still actively fighting for answers for their mother. In 2019, her children participated in CrimeCon, which is a sponsored event aimed at sharing details of her case with the public in hopes of finding additional information. Her case was featured on Still a Mystery, A Community Betrayal on the ID channel, and her daughter Carly also maintains several billboards in the area where she was last seen, hoping someone will come forward with some information. So one way you can, if you do have any information on Karen's case, you can call the Crime Stoppers of the South Sound at 800-222-TIPS. That is 800-222-8477. You can also contact Detective Mickey Hamilton at 360-786-5279. So obviously this was a very horrific crime. The offender or offenders seemingly wanted to send a message, but what message exactly were they wanting to send, and why? These are the questions that continue to torment detectives all these years later, and they need our help to help solve Karen's homicide. So Karen's daughter Carly obviously was forever changed by her mother's homicide. Carly says, quote, "There are two parts of my life. There's before my mom died, and there's after. Karen's mother, Sharon, said it's affected our whole life. People will say, "Oh, I know how you feel," and Karen says, "Well, no, unless you've been through it, you don't really know what it feels like to lose a loved one so violently." So, how different life would have been for the entire family had they not been cursed by the horror, the darkness, the everlasting grief of this homicide. Carly and Sharon say that there's no denying it. Karen was the center of their lives. Uh, she was passionate, she was fiery, she was creative, even sometimes a little bit strange. They joke affectionately. She would leave them little notes hidden in their books and notepads. She was always finding creative ways to tell them she loved them. And even during difficult times, Karen was full of life. And maybe that's what made her death just all that more horrific and just unfathomable. Carly says she always never wanted me to go. It was always hard for me to go. But I remember her saying, "Don't go, stay just 5 more minutes." And that is the last time I saw her. And Carly goes on to say, "It was the weirdest feeling getting up and getting ready for my mom's funeral before I got to graduate high school." So detectives know that Karen was hanging out with a group of people into the early morning hours of January 22nd. And then approximately 5 hours later, her body was found once again on the shoulder of Little Rock Road Southwest near the entrance to an old gravel quarry. So losing Karen was one thing, but learning how she was taken from them was another. Karen's mother, Sharon, she just hardly has any words to explain it. She just says, the way they left her. They did what they did and they were done with her. It's horrible. It's disgusting. People take more care with their garbage and their recycling. And this is according to Carly. So the latest detective on the case says that knowing the brutality of the crime and the way that Karen was found will never leave him. Detective Hamilton says the way they left Karen, nobody should have to suffer that kind of indignity. She was posed, definitely. Detective Hamilton says that while she was stripped of her clothing, there was something left on her body. Detective Hamilton said a ligature was found around her neck. I think it's unusual in the fact that everything else was removed from her body. Why was that left? Why was that left is a big question that I have. So whoever took the life of Karen seemingly wanted her body seen by many, leaving her displayed in the most visible spot on the entire long and busy road. And it seems that they wanted it just for the shock value. And it seems that there was more than one person most likely involved. Detective Hamilton says, I think when you have a case that has as little evidence as this one does and has gone on as long as it has, more than one person was probably involved. So the timeline of events also suggests that it is unlikely that only one person knows exactly what happened, as investigators know that she was with several people not long before her body was discovered. And in part, that's what makes this case all the more maddening. Detective Hamilton says, I feel very strongly this was somebody that she knew. But Detective Hamilton says the motive is not entirely clear. He says it was a very brutal attack. Who in her life would be angry enough to do that to her? From day one of the investigations, detectives had a sighting of an 80s model brown Datsun with a lighter color camper shell spotted in the area about an hour before Karen was found. So after following up, Detective Hamilton found 4 witnesses who gave descriptions of vehicles seen around the time that Karen's body was discovered. So 2 witnesses described the vehicle as an 80s model brown Datsun or Toyota type truck, and then 2 witnesses described it as a Datsun or Toyota type small car. One witness says the truck had a lighter colored camper, and the other witness does not remember a camper. But both vehicles described were consistently described as being brown in color. So they had a lengthy list of suspects, as investigators say that Karen had been hanging with a rough crowd that night. Detective Hamilton said, I look at this case in hindsight, And I think, man, it is so close, and yet we still have not made an arrest yet. Detective Hamilton's frustration and overall dedication to the case is made all the more noteworthy by the fact that he is not a cold case investigator, and he was never even assigned to Karen's case. Yet he was still determined to help, something that means the world to Karen's family. Carly says if he's doing this and he's not even assigned to it, that shows passion and wanting to do something. Karen's mother, Sharon, said, he told me that he drove by the area where Karen was found on a daily basis. And he said, finally, I just looked at that enough times driving by that I said, I want to help. I want to help this family and solve this case. So through it all, the family has never given up hope or given up on the hope, but that they will one day get answers. Carly says that nothing has faded, no wounds have healed. It is still as raw and open as it was when it happened. Karen's mother, Sharon, says that her pain is just too difficult to articulate. She says it just hangs over you. It's like a cloud hanging over you every single day. Sometimes when the sun's shining and it's a beautiful day and I'm enjoying it, I just don't feel worthy. It's been very difficult to have purely joyous moments without Karen. Her murder is always in the back of the family's minds. Carly says that she feels if the case was finally solved, that she will be able to properly grieve her mother the way that she desperately feels her mother deserves. Carly said, I just want to know what happened so I don't have to think about my mother's last moments every day. I want to imagine her good times, and that's all I can think about are her last few hours, and I do not want to do that anymore. She does not deserve that. She had so much life, and we need to remember that, not how she died. So once again, if you have any information on Karen's homicide, you can remain completely anonymous by contacting Crime Stoppers of the South Sound at 1-800-222-TIPS. You can also send in anonymous tips through the P3 Tips app. You can download it to your phone. It's free. And at one point, I don't know if it's still active, that Crime Stoppers was offering a cash reward of up to $1,000 for any tips that lead to an arrest in Karen's case. So now, as I'm recording this video in 2025, it's been 18 years. The case has still not been solved. It's been 18 years since Carly has heard her mother's laugh. It's been 18 years without having her mom around. And for 36-year-old Carly, that is 18 years is half of Carly's life. So Carly says 18 years with my mom and 18 years without my mom. That is a real reality check. So once again, just to go over the timeline, on January 22nd of 2007, someone took the life of Karen. They dumped her naked body on the side of a road north of Rochester, Washington. Carly says, a lot of times when I drive by, I have a lot of anger and angst and hurt, but other times I know she is not in pain anymore and she's happy now and no one can hurt her now. But the question still remains, who is behind the homicide? And all these years later, and there are still no arrests. So Carly says, to know that it's been 18 years and the killer or killers are still out there is really hard. They could be in line behind you at Safeway getting milk, or they could be at the gas station behind you. You never know that there's an offender walking around, and that is not okay. But she is hopeful that that will soon change. So earlier this month in 2025, the Thurston County Sheriff's Office posted this cold case bulletin on Facebook asking for any information on the unsolved homicide of Karen. And you can see that bulletin on the screen on the right hand of the slide. And her case is now just one of many cases that the Thurston County Sheriff's new cold case unit is committed to solving. So Carly says, someone knows something and they are not giving up, and that is not okay. And we're here to tell you that we are going to get you in the end. Until then, Carly and her siblings have kept Karen's memory alive through annual candlelight vigils. Carly's siblings, her sister was 15. and her brother was just 12 when their mother was the victim of a homicide. Carly says, my sister had her first baby, and she would have been a grandma, and we're all suffering because she is not here. She told Fox 13 Seattle that the siblings, the family, never get used to not having their mom around. Carly said, you get used to the disappointment that she's not able to be there because someone stole her from you. I like to think she would have been so proud knowing we've grown up and done so well. And absolutely, Carly, I truly believe that your mother would be absolutely proud of you and your siblings and what you have become. So once again, if you have any information, anything at all, no bit of information is too small. In this case, you can contact the Crime Stoppers number that I gave you before. I will put it listed in the description. You can also email TCSO Cold Case at co.thurston.wa.us. So, guys, we can do our part to help bring more awareness to Karen's case. Give the video a like. Please leave a comment below. But the most important thing you can do is share this video anywhere and everywhere you can to all the social media platforms so that Karen's name, her face, her story stays out there so that she is never forgotten. If you would like to learn more about missing persons and unsolved cold cases, please consider subscribing. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.